Hello, everybody, and welcome to the not very common GoodNightPunk video. But I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on and give you some information because you know I love my Ewoks. So if you don't know what's going on, thanks to our friends at GamingFans.com, Wookiee News. They post the calendar a few days before it goes live, and they release the login character, which is Sith Marauder from March. So that's pretty interesting, but we'll talk about that on the podcast. But for now, what you really want to know about, I'm sure, if you did not get C3PO at 7 stars during his last event, is that C3PO is coming back on March 7th. So if you don't have him already, now is the time to start getting ready. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff going on in the game right now that you're probably focused on trying to get ready for, sure. But one thing we do know is that C3PO came into this game and disrupted a lot. Whether it was Arena, it was the Heroic AAT raid, whether it was Phase 3 of the Sith raid, just all kinds of madness. C3PO is a great character for you to have in your arsenal at 7 stars. So I wanted to get in here and just talk about the Ewoks and what you need, what's best, and gear levels, that kind of stuff. So why don't we get into it? Now, the first thing you're going to want to know is what it takes to get C3PO, and that is 5 different Ewoks. Doesn't matter how you mix and match them, doesn't matter if they have a leadership ability involved in the 5 that you pick, it doesn't matter. Though, I would suggest making sure that you do have a leadership ability because the event is quite hard. But that is to say, any combination of WICKET, PAPLOO, Chief CHIRPA, LOGRAY, Ewok Elder, Ewok Scout, or Tebow will help you to get C3PO. Now, it is a legendary event, so he unlocks at 5 stars. So as long as you have 5 of those characters at 5 stars, then you'll be able to unlock C3PO. Now, if you want to get him to 7 stars, you'll have to have 5 of them at 7 stars. And yeah, so if you have those 5 characters at 7 stars, you will be able to compete to be able to get C3PO. And as you can see in the picture on your screen, my team of choice, and the one I think is the very best for this event, is a Chief CHIRPA lead with WICKET, PAPLOO, LOGRAY, and Ewok Elder. Don't pay attention to the ZETAS up there. I have them all. I'll talk about which ones you really need for the event or are best for the event as we go, but that team is my go-to team. Now, we all know Omegas are a resource in this game that are hard to come by, so it's very important to know what abilities you should use these resources on and which ones can be weighted on till you have more at your disposal for more frivolous spending. Now, the first thing I wanted to bring up was LOGRAY, who I think is a very important character in this event, and that is because he's basically the utility player of the Ewok faction. This guy can do turn meter reduction, gives turn meter to his team, adds a whole bunch of buffs, and he just has a lot of utility. Now, the first Omega I wanted to mention was his Prophetic Visions second special. And basically, I think this one adds the most when you put the Omega on it. The Omega adds advantage and offense up to the ability. So basically, when he uses it, he gives all the Ewoks 20% turn meter. But on top of that, he also gives them foresight, advantage, and offense up. This is a great opening move in the C3PO event because if you can get him fast enough, he's able to throw turn meter on all the other Ewoks and infuse them with buffs that just make it a lot easier for you to try to get in and kill one of those main characters like Chewbacca, which is a very annoying character in this event, and you want to get him down as soon as possible. As far as Logray's other 2 Omegas go, Hypnotize is a good one because it adds 30% turn meter to the ability and takes it from 70% turn meter reduction all the way up to 100. But it doesn't really add anything to the days. It doesn't do much as far as just adding to how much turn meter you're taking away and reducing the cooldown, which are both great things, but I don't think it's one you necessarily need, as well as his basic Mystical Strike. All it adds is tenacity up for your team if they call LOGRAY into assist. So if someone calls in LOGRAY to assist, that person calling him to assist gets tenacity up. And we know tenacity up is a good thing to have, but it's not necessarily the thing you want to get from your Omegas if you don't have a lot of them. Now, WICKET also has a Omega ability that you really want to make sure you do, and that's on his Forest Ambush. It takes the cooldown of -1, but the biggest thing about it is it adds 5% more turn meter gain on the ability. The ability reads, Ewok allies gain 10% turn meter for each critical hit scored. Now, in the C3PO event, there are 6 enemies. So if you are able to get 6 crits, you will be giving everyone 60% turn meter on the team, which can be huge. So this ability only has a 3-turn cooldown, and if you're using it as often as it comes up, especially if you have the Zeta that heals your team, this ability will be huge for you as far as turn meter goes, as far as healing, as far as general viability for the team. As far as other Omegas go for WICKET, his basic is about the same as every other Ewok, where if a person calls him into assist, that person is going to gain a buff. In this case, WICKET gives critical chance. Not a big deal. Can be, depending on what Zetas you decide to use, but it's probably not the most important Omega that you can get from the get-go. As well, on his second special, his Guerrilla Strike, which is another important ability in this event. The Omega, not so much. The Omega adds if the target ally is an Ewok, WICKET and target ally gain crit damage up for 2 turns. Now, granted, crit damage up is a great buff to have, especially on a group of Ewoks that don't hit very hard. They just hit often. Crit damage up can be helpful. But, again, when we're trying to use our Omegas wisely, I don't think that's the best Omega that you can get. If you're keeping track at home, so far I've told you the best Omegas to get are LOGRAY's Prophetic Vision Special, WICKET's Forest Ambush Special, and the other one that you really need, Chief CHIRPA's Tribal Unity Special. It adds all Ewoks assist as opposed to just 2 allies assist. So instead of getting 2 Ewoks coming in, you're pulling in the entire Ewok team on his Mass Assist Special. Also, it takes away 50% of the damage penalty that was implied onto those characters when they assist. So not only are you pulling in more people, but those people you're pulling in are getting more damage. So this is not one you want to skip either. This is one that you definitely want to put on along with WICKET and LOGRAY's. As far as his other Omegas go, his basic adds 15% damage, so if you need it, put it on there at the end. Special, 5% healing, plus heal over time duration +1. Another one, wait till later. You'll be okay without it. And that's pretty much as far as you need to go for CHIRPA. As far as any other Omegas go, there's not a whole lot left to list. All the other Omegas really just add extra damage. There's Omegas you can prioritize as far as Zetas go, and we'll talk about those now. So as far as the first one that you definitely want on your Ewok team, and that's CHIRPA's Leadership, just because of all the extra damage it adds to the team. You know, with the Ewoks, they don't hit very hard, but they hit often. So the more often you can get them hitting, the more damage you're doing, the better your chances are at beating the event. CHIRPA Zeta adds whenever an Ewok ally uses a special ability, there's a 60% chance to call another random Ewok ally to assist. Now, I mentioned some other Omegas and why they might be important once you start factoring in Zetas. Well, one of those reasons is we talked about all those basic abilities. Now, LOGRAY, PAPLOO, and WICKET, each on their basic ability, if you have it Omega, will add a buff to the person calling in assists if they're calling in that person. So those extra buffs start getting spread around the entire team when CHIRPA Zeta is calling people in to assist when you're using your special abilities. So those buffs are going to really start spreading around. They're going to be refreshed often, and you're going to have a lot of tenacity up, a lot of crit chance up, and a lot of defense up on your team to help them get the most out of what they can do. And it's important to mention here PAPLOO Zeta as well, which is more of a luxury Zeta, but it is one that is very good as far as keeping your team alive and, more importantly, keeping PAPLOO alive. His Zeta reads, whenever PAPLOO gains a status effect, he recovers 5% protection. That 5% protection can add up very quickly when this team gives out buffs like crazy. Now, there's a lot of abilities on these Ewoks that they use. They're specials and they give out buffs. But on top of that, if they use that special, there's a good chance they're going to call an assist under a Zeta CHIRPA lead, which, if that assist is LOGRAY, PAPLOO, or WICKET, is going to throw out another buff. And if that buff is going to PAPLOO, which often happens, he's going to gain 5% protection. And as a tank, that protection gain can be huge in this event. But I am saying that it's more of a oh crap Zeta, if you can't beat it, that you might need over something that you want to go into the event already having. The last two Zetas are basically healing Zetas, so it comes down to which you feel is going to give your team the most opportunity to stay alive and do the damage they need to do to get the upper hand and kill all the enemies up there with C3PO before they can start dismantling your team. I personally picked WICKET's Zeta first because I feel like since he goes so often, it can add so much healing to the team that it's much more worth it than LOGRAY's. But I do see arguments for either side, and I don't think you could go wrong with either one of them. WICKET's Zeta adds 4% health and 2% protection for every critical hit that he deals. He has that AoE ability that can hit on 6 people in this event, which adds a lot of healing when it does crit, as well as the fact that he can go over and over with all of those hits, giving that health and protection back to the team. Now, LOGRAY on the other side is much more situational because his healing depends on if someone has a buff or not. It is not as direct as when WICKET crits, everyone gets healed. LOGRAY's Zeta is whenever he's active and an Ewok ally scores a critical hit, that ally gains health up for 2 turns. And then all Ewok allies that have health up recover 10% health. So you can see how they would have to crit themselves first to get the health up before anyone else crits, giving them 10% health back to happen. You'll also notice that there is no protection regen with this ability as well. So I do think that this is a better one to have secondary to WICKET's Zeta, because WICKET's Zeta is going to add a lot of healing in itself. If you add this one on top of it, there's a good chance that you're going to have a lot of health top off with this ability. But standing alone, I don't think that this Zeta is better than WICKET's. I think WICKET's is the better one to get, while LOGRAY's would be a good secondary healing Zeta, kind of like PAPLOO's, where if you're still not beating the event and you have the Zetas and you don't mind using them on Ewoks, who are good in a lot of areas of the game, then you can throw one on this one as well. So if you're keeping score at home, biggest Omega's takeaway is LOGRAY's Prophetic Vision Special, WICKET's Forest Ambush Special, Chief CHIRPA's Tribal Unity Special, and as far as Zetas go, I like to say go for CHIRPA first, then for WICKET, and then if you need them, depending on the situation, go for PAPLOO or LOGRAY. I myself did the event with just WICKET and CHIRPA, so hopefully that's enough to get you through. If you want to do the other two, I'm telling you, in all aspects of the game, they're going to be good for you, so it's not going to hurt you to do it for this event, because later on in Grand Arena and Territory Wars, these teams are very good. So those Zetas are all worth it. I just think that CHIRPA and WICKET are the better ones to get. As far as the event itself goes, there's some tips and tricks to make it a lot easier on yourself than it could be. Telling you now will help you from beating your head against the wall, trying to figure out what you're doing wrong. The first thing you want to know is go straight at Chewbacca. Indoor Leia and Han Solo are going to be guarded, so going after them before Chewbacca is not a good idea, because you know that guarded is going to keep them alive and keep the rest of the team there, hitting your Ewoks, who are relatively squishy compared to the damage that these guys are putting out. You want to get Chewbacca down as fast as possible. Now, when I played the event, the biggest thing keeping me from doing that was this indoor rebel commando that kept taunting. Now, that taunt can keep you from getting Chewbacca down. The best way to deal with that is PAPLOO's basic, because it will dispel. If PAPLOO's not getting a turn quick enough for you, one thing you can do is use WICKET's assist ability, bring in PAPLOO to get that taunt off as fast as possible so you can go right back after Chewbacca, because if you're not able to get Chewbacca down, you're not going to beat the event. That's the simple way about it. Now, I know that there are people that will have done it without taking him down first, but the easiest way to do it is to make sure that PAPLOO keeps that taunt off the commando and you are going straight after Chewbacca and taking him down. After Chewbacca, go after Han Solo, because he will not be stealth more than likely, so you can go right at him. And then from there, you can start determining who you want to get depending on what's up on the screen for you as far as characters go, and taking out the rest of them. But as far as it goes, Chewbacca first, and keep that taunt off the commando, go after Han, and then take out the rest of the team. Easier said than done, right? Yes, I know. You're going to have Ewoks die, and it stinks. And sometimes it ends your run. But one of the things that I did during this event to make sure that my Ewoks stayed alive was use WICKET to call in Ewok Elder, specifically because it stealths the person that he calls in to assist. So with him stealth, if they manage to kill off any of your other Ewoks, you'll be able to use Elder to pull back up that dead Ewok with his revive ability. As well, Ewok Elder's pretty important to the team because his basic adds turn meter when he hits it. So getting him to go often enough to bring that turn meter up on the whole team keeps them fighting, keeps them attacking, and keeps them going right after Chewbacca to get him down quickly. Now, if Chewbacca does his AoE that takes out all of your buffs and you're completely naked out there, again, make sure you try and get that stealth back on Elder so that he can keep the team alive and health topped off, as well as continue to use PAPLOO to take that taunt off of your commando, and you'll be able to take out the people that you want to. I know that's easier said than done, but hopefully with these tips and tricks, you'll be able to get into that event, know what you're doing from the start, and through a few playthroughs, hopefully get through the event and get your 7-star C3PO. Now, I didn't really mention gear in this video prior to now because it's kind of hard to say what's going to work for you compared to other people. I know people have beat it with Gear 9 Ewoks. I don't know how they did it. I beat it with all Gear 12 Ewoks. It was very simple that way. I've heard that Gear 10 Ewoks is hard but manageable, especially if you have the ZETAS. Omegas are all hit off. So I would say if you're still gearing them, try at Gear 10, and if it's not working then, continue to gear them up as you go. That way you're not draining your resources for the other things coming, but you are giving yourself the best chance to get C3PO. So hopefully this video helped you out, and I hope to see a bunch of new C3POs this week. And yeah, be awesome. Enjoy the event, and I'll catch you guys later.